everybody, and welcome to Just Draw with Justin, episode 3. Today we're going to be drawing a dancer. This sketch probably took me about 30 minutes, but I'm going to speed it up to about 7. So first I start with a line of action, and then the base of the neck. What this is going to do is let me establish the skull and the tilt of the head. Next I add in the shoulders and the rib cage. She's flinging her arms backwards. It's a very awkward pose, but as I build it in, it starts to make more sense. I add one leg just to balance it. She's really balancing all on one toe, which is quite impressive. And then her arms are behind her. This is giving her a sense of balance when the drawing is finally roughed in. I give a couple of definitions to the arms and then the legs. And I start roughing in the dress. Now, there's only one leg here. The second leg is hidden inside of the dress, and I just didn't draw it because I didn't feel like it was necessary. I add all the ruffles, thinking of them as large shapes instead of like a giant sheet. It helps me block in the shapes. And this is a very rough one. This was just a very quick, maybe, 5 minutes at tops, just to see if I like the gesture. And then I put a line down the back, so to show that she has a turn of a neck. Next thing I'm going to do is make a new layer, turn the opacity down, and I start refining some of the features. I'm using the old sketch as a guide, but I am going off of it. You can see I make the eyes a little smaller and a little bit more refined. Add the lips, the ears, and the hair. Like I said, this was a very quick sketch, so I wasn't terribly worried about being super accurate. I'm just more trying to portray a lively atmosphere of dancing. Some curly hair, the little bonnet. Now when you draw hair, a lot of times I like to break it up into large shapes and then refine that. With this one, I did that. I thought of what's in the foreground, what's in the middle of her head, and then what's in the background. I then go on afterwards and I add in her shoulders and the ruffles on her arm. And this gives me a sense of where her neck is connected into the chest. And then I work on the other shoulder, and I slightly define her back. I add a rough in of the bow that is there. This is the other ruffle on her right arm. I add a little bit of line in front of the other part of the arm to show that it is being tilted backwards and gives it more of a sense of depth. Same thing with by adding the lines of the forearm in front of her on her left arm. A very simple hand. It's holding up the dress. I tried to make one side of the drawing rather complicated, while the other side of the drawing is relatively simple. So if you're looking at the drawing, the left-hand side of the drawing is just a smooth curve, while the right side of the drawing has a hand that's out, that is more detailed, has negative space, and the dress is more flowing in that direction. I add in the foot and the thigh, and I add in the toes. Technically she doesn't have a bent big toe in the reference image. However, I wanted to show some sense of weight, so I bent her big toe just to show that she's actually standing on it. I do add in the left knee. It's hard to see until it's shaded in. This just gives a sense of where the knee actually is. the whole goal of this drawing was to just show a sense of freedom and fluidity of my lines. A lot of times I'm really rigid when I try to draw, and so this was a exercise in just relaxing. I then come in on a third layer and I start blocking in all the heavy shadows. The light is coming from the upper left-hand side, and so I wanted to clearly define that her back is in shadow, parts of her dress and her face are going to be in shadow. This later will give a lot of dimension. I'm going to lower the opacity of it just so it's not overwhelming. So yeah, I go through and I break up the different shapes into their colors. If you can squint, you can sort of see where to put the dark spots and where to put the light spots. That's me knocking it back to an opacity, and I sign it. I think after I thought I was done, and then I wanted to go back and actually hit it with a couple more dark spots just because I lost all my darkness when I toned down the opacity. So I color in the bow a little bit, and I darken the hair just to make it more stand out. And some of the super dark areas underneath the dress, and I believe the shadow under where she's standing. Adding some details in the corset. And that's the drawing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm quite happy with this. It was a quick sketch. You can follow me at jland_art on Instagram. You can find my website at justinlandonline.com. Have a good one and see you in the next episode.